But we do have picks and bans, because again, that was only the first game, and hope you are ready to sit through potentially another long one. Game 2, as we go through. Do you think there's a Kuzenbo ban in there? Do you think it was that disruptive, or do you think it's going to be the same runs?
I don't think it was the Kuzenbo that is going to be banned away. I would be surprised to see them ban away Kuzenbo, although it wouldn't be that shocking considering how much control Mr. Turtle was able to have throughout those engagements. I like that CAZ is committing to the same initial bans, though. I think that the Raijin and Kakalin eliminations were smart.
They are going to get rid of the Kuzenbo and the RDO. I was thinking, okay, well, the same 3 bans. It's going to be the same 4th ban. They're going to grab Ratatoskr, and then it's going to go over to the other side, and it's going to do the same thing that we saw for the first game, except CAZ is going to be a little bit happier because they're like, hey, wait, we just won with this. Now they're going to have to rethink their solo lane just a little bit, as RivaL going to go for the Sylvanus first this time.
And Sylvanus probably to just help mitigate some of that early map pressure that RivaL did lack. Even though they started off pretty strong at first with that Thor Isis, you would imagine that they would establish most of the map pressure. But I think CAZ actually did a relatively good job early on at just slowing down the pacing so much to make it relatively useless for RivaL to try and maintain that advantage.
Looking to run back pretty much the same comp so far for CAZ. They will have to change something up, at least one, but depending on the bans, they might be able to run back 4 out of 5, which if they're happy with it, then they'll be happy with it on the other side. Huyi locked in again, more than likely for Dobson, and Habwa making it through. Has a lot of damage, that mage.
This could potentially be a jungle Habwa, though. Ooh. That wouldn't surprise me, although Watson does have a pretty nasty Habwa as well, so mid lane is usually ideal for Habwa. He has a lot of freedom to roam around, especially if he's going to have his support starting in that lane with him too.
They're going to get rid of the Scylla as well, so making sure everything changes up. Although Elexum, like, he had a ton of damage that came through. Didn't hit a lot. When it did hit, it was a big connection, but when it didn't hit, the team hardly noticed it, and that's part of why RivaL was able to prolong a lot of those fights.
A great ban away, though, of the Wheelish Odin by CAZ, not really wanting to worry about getting trapped inside of that Odin ring, since pretty much no one from CAZ so far can escape, and especially not that Thoth. And now the Wheelish is also just going to be an elimination of that Wombo combo potential that RivaL might have been looking for.
Changing up what they need to, Thoth and Hercules coming through. And we've seen Hercules can show a lot as long as he's played properly up against, on the other side, more than likely the Chaac. It's going to be a nice lane for him to potentially be what CAZ wanted last game, where he's just going to bully. He's going to fight as much as possible. They're going to lock in the Nemesis. I actually really like that one just to help deal with some of the tanky.
Everything from RivaL, though, is basically saying early game to me. RivaL just probably not looking to take this game as late as the last one. And when you have the Chaac, Habwa, Huyi, Sylvanus, it's really easy to just get that early lead online.
Yeah, being able to maybe fight early on, Habwa, it kind of mixes up with the jungle if you can kind of come in and hopefully get that early kill, get yourself ahead, and then you start dealing a little bit more damage. Elexum, on the other hand, and the rest of CAZ, really, they are absolutely fine with taking this to another 70 minutes if they have to. Elexum specifically, because he can one-shot people that late.
Well, this is RivaL's Lancelot now on the line in this game. It's basically do or die here for them, so I can understand entirely why they're looking to just get the lead early, because the sooner you put down CAZ after that 72, it was 72-55, so it was basically a 73-minute game.
The problem I have with it is that even last game, they had an early lead. They wasn't as big as they could potentially get here, but if they were able to grab it, they just weren't able to play to it. Actually, I'd say on the other side, they weren't able to commit to any objective that came down to the point that they would be able to push that as far as they could. And really, when it came down to it, they got the lead and then didn't play like they had the lead.
Well, now CAZ just doing the same thing as last game, though, with Atonement starting in that mid lane alongside of Elexum. Skadi Thoth push is really strong, so they're not going to have to worry about too much against that Habwa. Just need to be generally careful at avoiding early triple bounces from Dobson.
Coming all around. At this point, we know the teams. RivaL, we mentioned a few times last game, and I think you may have gotten the feel for it as everything went through. They like to farm a little bit, and in this case, it's not bad for them, but like you had said, they're a little bit more early game, so fights wouldn't be bad overall if they start looking for it. And getting pressure down onto Maloaise in the solo lane is actually a good place to have that start.
And Maloaise, though, he's actually poked out a decent bit, so fortunately enough for him, they already secured their own buffs, so he's not going to have to worry about any invades from RivaL. Although early on, I'm kind of surprised that Gnome and Rapio aren't looking to basically pressure out Maloaise a little bit harder here. They could probably just look for some slice and dices in between the wave.
At least a little bit of poke to keep CAZ on their toes, because Mr. Turtle, we saw in the last game, just from the play with the Kuzenbo and Hercules, can benefit from this as well, where he can get aggressive. He's relatively tanky early on, so he can try to fight as much as he wants. It's going to be going back and forth, and not opting for the damage from Rapio. Not going to have as big of a setup as well, because he's not on that Thor.
In Atonement, he was starting to freeze that wave for a second there. Only left 3 creeps for Dobson and JacobHL to share. Switch, though, not going to connect with that Terra clap, but the pull-in is good onto Atonement.
But the damage is being flipped right back onto JacobHL. Atonement's getting low, and he's up into the sky, comes crashing down. Dobson, 1 hit is all he could take, but he's not going to be able to have the ricochet in time. He's not going to be able to find any of the last few smacks to the face to kill off Atonement. And what could have been a nice early first blood for them, so far, it's just going to fall back and be healing up for the side of CAZ.
Great body blocks and excellent usage of that sprint there by Switch, making sure that he could save the life of his hunter. Otherwise, without a doubt, Dobson still tries to commit to that. And now he just needs to be careful that Atonement doesn't get clipped by any ricochets.
Gnome going in as hard as he can. He's going to get the knock-up in the silence, looking for the aggression. The last hit, that's all it needs. The axe goes a little bit of a distance there from Maloaise, and he's going to end up taking that spill as the suns are dropped in the left-hand lane. Atonement 1 hit away, and he's going to find it. Dobson now starting this one out. RivaL, they lost first blood last game, but they were able to answer with 2 kills. This time, they just want the 2 kills.
2 lanes, 2 kills, and that is the perfect start for RivaL with this composition. Had to expend both ultimates in that duo lane, but if you're able to take out the hunter, that's worth it every single time. Not to mention that Atonement used his purification beads as well.
Looking to try and get themselves ahead. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I like where they're putting the pressure, because that's where they kind of ended up being shaky last time on the side of RivaL. But I also feel like Watson might need a little bit of a push to get himself ahead, just because Elexum has just as hard, if not a harder hit late game in a much more ranged ability.
Elexum's going to have more range poke potential in general in comparison to Watson. Watson has to kind of close that distance, and if there's one thing that a Thoth can prevent you from doing, it's closing the gap. He can maintain that spacing from Watson for so long. It's really going to come down to Rapio trying to force Elexum into a corner with his ultimate.
I'm always happy to see Habwa, though. Habwa is the god that got me into the game in the first place, so Watson, don't do me dishonor. Make sure that you have a good performance here. RivaL looking to try and find a win. That's all they need to be able to separate them, and they have a good start for what they want with the 2 kills. And again, about 1,000 gold lead. The same thing they were able to really find early on last game. The big thing for them is whether or not they're actually going to be able to push this the way that they needed to versus what ended up happening where CAZ was able to just draw the game out as far as they could.
Ooh, speaking of which, great ricochet bounce there by Dobson, and without a doubt, Atonement's going to end up falling because of it. Maloaise, though, still up in the air, ready to pounce.
Down onto Watson, he goes, the knockup is good, but Elexum ends up missing. Watson's still alive, and Elexum takes the spill because of it. Now, Maloaise stuck behind enemy lines, and they're collapsing in. Rapio going to be coming through. The slice and dice, the slow is all he needs, but the dash will come up from Maloaise. He's right around the corner from the tier 2, so he should be able to get out of this one no problem. And with Switch right there, they're feeling safe, but that's going to be 4 kills now online for RivaL, and CAZ hasn't been able to answer back.
RivaL was, or I should say Rapio was just looking to deal damage, to try and make Maloaise feel a little bit uncomfortable if he ventured into his own jungle, leaving him wondering if a Nemesis is going to be around that corner. But the real victim here is Atonement. He just took it's not even that risky of a pathing, but it is when you're against a Hu Yi.
Atonement running back the Skadi, and early on wasn't really big numbers, big damage, big anything. He was just kind of the setup when it came down to it for the rest of the damage. He was nice, consistent damage coming down, but honestly, he kind of seemed like the body that RivaL wanted that wasn't going to be as big of a target. Elexum still looking to run that role as, I'm going to burst you before you can burst us. So potentially, if our Atonement can do what he needs to, he could be that distraction again.
Atonement is all about the placement for his permafrost. That is really going to be the distinguishing factor in these team fights for CAZ against RivaL. He's just looking to drop that giant AoE because it'll cause so much disaster, but Watson actually has a great escape against it for his team just because of the slow immunity that could help out. Speaking of which, Elexum now in a lot of trouble. He's not going to be able to get away from that one. Watson taking the life of that Thoth.
Your dash can be good, but not as good as what we see Watson throw down. He's able to close the gap and burst you down, find that kill, and really just good call from RivaL to be able to collapse in over there. A lot of teams might have actually ended up missing that, but with Gnome getting the position, recognizing what they could do, kind of calling it out like, hey, come on over, we can pick up a kill here at least, and shut Elexum down a little bit harder now. 2 deaths to his name. Potential to kind of get Watson up ahead as much as they can.
And for Elexum, there's really just not much that he could have done differently there. Once you take, you even go slightly out of position, that's all it takes for a Nemesis Habwa to run you down, especially with that knockup.
Maloaise going to get the knock up onto 2, and now Watson going to be the one taking a lot of damage. One more hit is all it takes, and Maloaise going to find that. And it's going to be the mid lane and an extended for the mid lane, but the first kill there for CAZ, and that's what Final Judgment does now. If CAZ can extend this as far as they want, Final Judgment at later points might just be enough.
That's a nasty, nasty combination from Elexum and Maloaise, just having those 2 ults to combine and take out pretty much any member that it connects with, as long as they're relatively squishy, and they can find Watson almost every single time there.
Essentially the setup they needed last game, but with that, Mr. Turtle, setup is exactly what they needed, and Rapio and Gnome going to be able to find that. The setup they needed for Elexum to be able to kind of push forward last game, that he just wasn't able to connect with those Ama monsters. And even now, it's looking like he might have a little bit more of a hit rate coming down for the Final Judgment.
And Switch is just trying to hold down this lane until Mr. Turtle is respawned and back in it. Maloaise now getting some great poke out onto Rapio, but taking some return fire from that slice and dice.
Maloaise looking to try and rectify, losing his solo laner, and this is the big thing now. 6-1 is RivaL, and the early lead is what they needed. The early lead is what they've gained. The Suns are going to be dropped just to secure the purple buff, but it's going to be a steal away as it comes through. A big one overall for Dobson. Small, secure, big ult, but he is able to at least take some farm, and some more farm at this point, away from Atonement.
That ultimate is worth it, though, because of how passive Atonement is playing in the lane anyway. There's really no opportunity for Dobson to use that ult as a kill secure method, so he might as well just use it to secure some farm.
Trying to secure whatever he can. Mr. Turtle trying to stay alive. Gnome on the other side wanted the kill, but they're not going to be able to get it. They walk away with the ult, but we see Rapio did use his protection shred to try and get that going for them. So ult for ult, all in all, Mr. Turtle probably not that unhappy.
I don't think Maloaise knows that he's basically right next to a ward, and I'm not sure that that ward is picking him up just yet. Is going to spot it out just now, though, and after dropping that sentry right there, he knows that any hopes that he had of ulting in with that through the cosmos is not going to be possible.
Be able to find him some 50 gold, so he's at least going to be able to maybe take a tiny dent away from RivaL there as they're poised up. No team, even though we're 10 minutes in, has really kind of glanced at that Gold Fury pit. And with the way they played last game, I don't really expect them to. RivaL seemed a little timid to want to go in on it in the first place, even when they had the lead. Now I think they're going to want an even bigger lead before they run that risk.
RivaL already has such strong burst potential for this objective, though. I can maybe see them doing the Gold Fury a little bit sooner than 25 minutes, although I don't want to speak too soon.
Looking to try and not have a staring contest. The pluck is going to be good as Final Judgment comes through, connects with 2. Watson in the backline going to be the one hurting for the most, but Rapio's the main target as he's standing up front and center. The crushing wave comes down, but it connects with no one of importance. And now looking like the turnaround for CAZ. The Suns are dropped to get the slow. They're just trying to find their way in, but Maloaise takes the fall.
Those water hands out of Watson just destroying Maloaise. Started going forward just a little bit, trying to get some follow-up onto Dobson, but that peel was a little bit too strong, or mostly the slows. That giant slow in that team fight just prevented CAZ from following up.
Had they been able to kind of break through, might have been able to find something, but now the ricochet and the help of a Bumba's Mask, Dobson's going to be able to clear out the Oracle Harpies and at least get vision for his team. Not quite ready to full commit onto the Gold Fury. And again, this is kind of what I expect out of them. Is Elexum with a oddly placed wall, still going to try to find the hits.
It's It's hard for Atonement, though, because he doesn't have his Transcendence online yet. And Dobson's already finished the Devourer's Gauntlet. He's going to start getting those stacks online. By the time Atonement finishes off that Transcendence and comes back to the lane, starts building the stacks, he's going to basically be relying off of that initial power spike more than anything else. And that can be kind of a rough spot for a Skadi against a Hu Yi.
Positioning is the big one for RivaL right now. They're waiting around the Gold Fury pit for someone to make a mistake. They're going to go into the purple buff, but the stun is going to be good. Rapio again taking that damage. The shield's going to be nice to keep him alive a little bit longer. Maloaise slowed down and pushed out. The purple buff this time does go in favor of CAZ eSports. We're now nearing 12 minutes. There's been 8 kills, and it's 7-1 in favor of RivaL. Nice
little heal there from Jacob onto his jungler. So Rapio, that poke that he just took from Maloaise, pretty much eliminated, not really there anymore. And now it's actually Rapio looking to go in on Atonement.
Going to get taken down. One hit is all it will take, and the slice and dice doing a little bit more damage than I honestly anticipated, but the ult was dropped from Rapio to be able to find that kill. And Atonement takes the spill, which opens up this left-hand side of the map, and that's what RivaL wants. They want a Gold Fury, and they're going to walk on in.
No escape for Atonement there, even if he was able to make a little bit of distance between himself and Rapio. Rapio still had the blink available. Now it's up to Maloaise to try and push RivaL off of this objective.
Standing right on top of a ward one more time, gets noticed, and RivaL immediately going to fall back. We've seen this before. They do not want to run any risk, even if there's one member of CAZ nearby. They don't want to commit. Maloaise has relatively good potential to come in and steal, but with Elexum around, I think that's the big deterring factor. That Final Judgment can swing the Gold Fury one way or the other.
But they should just keep pulling the Gold Fury to pull Elexum even closer towards them. That way they can find the pick onto Elexum, and then there's nobody left to contest against that Gold Fury. RivaL are just playing with so much hesitation.
There's a certain point, so playing scared is fine. Playing scared to be able to get the objectives, make sure you are solidly in the lead. That's okay. There's a point where you get maybe a little bit too scared, and because of that, that's, I think, where CAZ was able to capitalize last game.
They're playing with the same fear that they had in the last game, though. It's not the same kind of circumstances. They have so much more burst potential just with the Hawa alone. I really just want to see RivaL commit to an objective. They don't need to keep dancing around them. They have more than enough damage to secure these, especially in 4v5 situations where you don't have to worry about the enemy hunter.
And you've been winning fights left and right, even looking to potentially get some more damage down as Watson coming back into the mid lane. Elexum's missing his shots. Elexum's not dealing the damage you would expect out of Elexum, and that, I think, opens it even more for RivaL to come in if they would like, but they're still timid. They don't want to fight, and I think with JacobHL, if he doesn't hit a pluck, I don't expect them to get that aggressive.
Watson right now, though, just a little bit too low on mana. Better to not try and mess with this Gold Fury until he's at least back to base, bought a couple of items, or at least finished off what he's going to be working on next. He's massed quite a decent bit of gold in this mid lane. He's been farming away for a hot minute now next to Jacob, and he's really just getting ready for what could happen next.
And a nice big Book of the Dead. Gnome going to come through, steal away a speed buff. Ult comes on out.
Just letting him know.
I'm going to throw that out. EU ult.
He's just letting them know that he has it. There's a silence there.
Silence. Just so you know, you can't.
It's like
not only can you
dance.
not catch me, but also I'm happy. Yeah.
He's like throwing his fist in the air. You know, it's like, yeah, I did it.
I did it.
I made a play on the map. So
came through and finally got a little bit of a lead. A Switch going to get taken down to about half health. Going to get the double dash to try and run away, and the tier 2 tower's right there. RivaL poised again to have control of the left-hand side in the Gold Fury, but they don't want to commit to it because Elexum's here, Maloaise is here, and they're poised to come in and fight.
Maloaise, though, is just looking for the setup onto Elexum. That's all that they really want to do. RivaL, though, let's 4-man split the red buff XP, baby!
A lot of splits coming through. Not necessarily the most farm you're going to go. Pluck just off the mark as well. And in RivaL, they're looking for fights. This is different from what we saw last time, but they're looking for them in all the wrong scenarios. They're thinking,
ready.
Everyone on CAZ is running away. Let's go for it. Now, Gold Fury started up. Elexum still around Maloaise with ult. Elexum with ult. Are they going to notice
this in? They can bait in Elexum, pull him in, out of position. Maloaise up in the air already. They still have aggro of the Gold Fury. They've already burned out Maloise's ultimate. Elexum has nobody to drop his on. This is a great leash by RivaL. Now they don't have to worry about that Ratatoskr. They don't have to worry about Elexum having perfect setup. Watson getting some great poke out as well.
That's what they needed to do earlier on. Now Gold Fury at half health and falling a little bit faster. Elexum charging up the final judgment. Going to miss the Gold Fury, but finds Dobson one hit away as he, if any ability, could find him. But it looks like CAZ not in a position to get aggressive. He's going to go back into the back line, heal up using that Bumba's Mask and that Devourer's Gauntlet. And now CAZ, when they had an opportunity to potentially fight into RivaL, end up just falling back.
RivaL probably could have kept pulling aggression of that Gold Fury. They don't have to worry about the Ratatoskr ult. They don't have to worry about the Thoth ultimate. And now it's actually going to be Jacob, but there's nobody behind him to look for follow-up. He's really just trying to be the distraction factor, waiting for the rest of his team to collapse.
They're going to come in. They're going to get the damage. Elexum is the target, but he's under tower, and they don't want to commit to him. Maloaise in the backline looking for the damage, but he's going to dash through Terra's Blessing, keeping everyone nice and healthy and mobile on the side of CAZ, and RivaL's going to fall right on back. I feel like had Jacob held on maybe a little longer, could have been a better setup for his team, but yeah.
RivaL's moments of aggression have just been so curious this game. They don't fight underneath the Gold Fury pit after their hunter gets back up to a little over half health and can stay safely in the backside, not worrying about Maloaise or Elexum's ultimates. Instead, they aggress with a Blink Sylvanus ultimate on the T1 tower line, and nobody's near him.
And not only that, but then don't commit into the tower. They go onto the T1 tower. Like there's only one place they're going to run.
They can't chase into
but
the tower.
They're going to get taken down. We're now sitting at about 18 minutes, and the Gold Fury is still being baited around RivaL. This time, actually poised to potentially take it. Maloaise has his ult. Elexum has his ult. The question is, can they get over here in time? But the answer is no. RivaL finally going to be able to secure an objective.
Rapio, actually, I believe he got the reflect off of that Thoth ultimate. Pretty quick timing there. I'm pretty sure that the Nemesis shield at least was able to tank up some of that damage because it looked as though it clipped him. Either way, it doesn't matter now for RivaL. They were able to take out that Gold Fury, which means that they can now start looking at the Portal Demon.
4,000. They've swung it in their favor. 18 minutes in, 8-1. They might be playing timid, but they're at least getting what they want in the long run, and that's going to be what pulls them ahead. And as long as they can keep a lead like this, then they have that potential to be able to pull ahead. But this is where we saw things start to fall apart last game. They got a Gold Fury. They even got two. And then it came down to the Portal Demon. And that's where everything just became nothing.
It's all right to play with patience. It's all right to play with caution. But RivaL's mistake in the last game was that they did it for too long, which permitted CAZ's late game draft to start taking effect. And that could be a similar circumstance here if RivaL isn't careful. They've got a pretty decent lead built up right now. I really just want to see them start all inning, committing to these objectives, prevent CAZ from just happily farming away while they two-man dance around an objective, meaning that CAZ doesn't have to make those rotations. If you start throwing bodies on these global spots, and then that just means that you're going to force the enemy team to either contest or forfeit free gold and XP.
Early on, they kept good control of the Oracle Harpies and the Fire Imps over there, and now RivaL looking to try and keep good control over the Gold Fury, which they were at least able to keep CAZ from starting, although CAZ also stopped RivaL from securing it for quite some time. But the Portal Demon, I think, is where everything came unraveled. Last game, overall, RivaL was always too timid to go in and commit to it, or at least commit to the fight that could happen afterward. And I think that's going to be the big potential here as well, as even now, RivaL, they're looking for some aggression, but it seems like they're still looking for it in the wrong places.
They're getting pinched, though. Maloaise spotted on the backside, but that was a great final judgment there by Elexum. Watson's already down, and he's actually out. Mr. Turtle's ultimate going to make sure to clean him up.
Boulder comes crashing through, gets that kill. JacobHL stunned through the wall, and the damage is being thrown. That's going to be one more kill if they can collapse on it, but the slows are good. The sprint is going to be better, but it's a little bit too late, and CAZ didn't seem to expect it. They still find the kill, and they lock down Gnome. The Thorns is good. It's reflecting the damage, and the Tier 2 tower is not enough to deter CAZ as they go in for the kill.
And Mr. Turtle just trying to cut off the escape route for Gnome. Gnome actually is going to get cleaned up, though, by Elexum. No problem. Dobson still trying to get away with Rapio, but Mr. Turtle, he's still back there.
Fortunately, not Kuzenbo this time, so he's not going to be able to run in and get the damage he wants. He's going to be able to get some farm. They find 3 kills for 1 there. Now CAZ, 4-9, are going to turn their time over to the Portal Demon. Mr. Turtle's still back there doing what he needs to do. He's distracting Dobson, who didn't have the Suns, but he did have some steal potential if he wanted to come in. Ricochet's always good damage. They finally grab the Portal Demon.
And again, that's just really curious engagement by RivaL. Rather than fighting in an open area such as the Portal Demon Pit and baiting CAZ into unfavorable positioning, they fight in a narrow corridor trying to overextend into CAZ's jungle, and they're against a Thoth.
Yeah, that two-man hit really hurts when you start to see the damage he's able to output. Right now, it's not the top of the charts. Chaac just above him, but he's been able to put out 10,600, and a lot of that has been from being able to get those stacks up from the side of RivaL. If they stand in a line like that, it's perfect pickings for the Thoth.
Watson, I don't believe even really had an opportunity there to use either of his relics. His health just dropped so quickly that he probably felt it a waste to use that Aegis, trying to buy himself a little bit of time. He recognized that Mr. Turtle was standing right behind him. CAZ just perfectly pincered RivaL and took advantage of RivaL's awkward positioning.
Looking to try and find in, looking to get any aggression that they might be able to. CAZ is in an awkward spot because they're still 4,000 gold down. On the other side, RivaL still seems to be just timid enough that they don't want to fight, but they're going to go in and get the knockup pull. Going to be good. They're not able to commit all of the damage they need to onto Elexum. The Aegis is going to be good enough to keep him alive a little bit longer. Rapio chasing him down, and he's going to be able to find that last hit onto the tier 2.
Elexum wasn't able to hit that stun onto Rapio. Rapio just had enough of the jukes, but now Maloaise looking to return fire onto the enemy mid laner. Watson, though, not in too much danger, has the rest of his team right behind him. So instead, CAZ are just going to have to give up the fact that they lost their mid laner, and now RivaL spotting out that Gold Fury.
Going to use the time that Elexum is down to go for the steal, or not the steal, but just the confirm. But now Mr. Turtle actually being brought in, has the boulder. It can do a lot of damage. It is potential to steal. You see RivaL trying to bait this one out and pull everyone in. But CAZ doesn't seem too worried about it. The damage actually going to be rolling through. Switch does take a lot, but they're finding the return onto Watson.
And Gnome now, he's trying to cause a little bit of mayhem in the backside. Mr. Turtle, though, doing the same exact thing. Maloaise is so incredibly low. Dobson's going to get the credit for that one. Gnome popping those thorns now, just trying to push out the carries that are remaining from CAZ.
All they need to do is set their sights right back onto the Gold Fury, but Elexum has gone up and is returning over slowly but surely, and we'll have the final judgment. It looks like RivaL might recognize the threat, and they look like they're going to fall away because CAZ is just keeping them zoned. They're playing timid again. Now CAZ wants to go for it. They're going to start pulling it just to try and bring RivaL back into the pit. But no one really seems to want to commit to the fight anymore.
RivaL had that Gold Fury down to 30% HP, and there wasn't a single member from CAZ that was close enough to try and steal it away. Plus that giant AoE silence from Gnome. I'm really surprised that RivaL didn't just try and full commit to the objective. They could have easily secured that one when Watson was still alive.
But they're stuck now, not finding it, and not finding any more kills after that, which is always going to be the rough spot. Again, they have a lead, but they're not playing like they have the lead they have. They're playing like maybe they have 1,000 gold lead, something that's really fragile. They've managed to amass 4,000. You could potentially take a Gold Fury hit and still come out on top with some kills.
And Elexum's damage actually going to be halted a little bit here. He built that Hide of the Urchin third. He's got the Pen Boots online with that Book of Thoth, but the Divine Ruin, a really interesting pickup, actually, but I like it considering the lineup that he's up against. It's going to be great for preventing the sustain that Gnome and Jacob would typically be looking for, and Thoth is just so great at applying that anti-heal proc.
RivaL take down the Oracle Harpies. JacobHL going to blink forward to try and get the aggression to give his team the advantage for the Gold Fury, but he doesn't have the follow-up he needs. One more time, but Rapio going to be able to go into the back. Elexum going to take the spill, and now the damage is getting returned. The Boulder doing as much as it can, but they've lost their main source of damage on the side of CAZ, and while they get 3 ults for it, they end up actually having the aggression because RivaL's falling back to their red buff.
RivaL just looking to try and get a little bit of heal going for their Hunter, and with the Sylvanus just trying to maintain their spacing until they feel healthy enough to re-engage. Speaking of which, Rapio, he's ready to go. He's trying to engage onto Mr. Turtle, but that heal, the Hercules is just insane.
Trying to go forward. The plug going to miss, and that's going to be RivaL's call to disengage. The question is, do they want to pull the Gold Fury, actually confirm it this time, or at least try to bait out anyone on the side of CAZ? They do still have the big silence coming out from Chaac. They drop the Gold Fury one more time, and Rapio is going to be pushed into the rest of his team. No big damage coming down from CAZ to be able to secure it. Watson actually having to use his ult just to disengage. And it's going to be CAZ ultimately just keeping RivaL off the Gold Fury one more time.
Watson, I think, just destroyed his own health bar off of Mr. Turtle, and No, that was actually Maloaise possibly with the Thorns, because it seemed as though Watson's health had a huge chunk of it just disappear when he ulted out of that. And since there was no one nearby to toss out an ability, it had to have been that Thorns reflect damage.
RivaL are dancing again. They just are holding around the Gold Fury pit. They're starting it. They're getting it low, equally low every time. They have the ability to potentially just swing in, use that last little bit of burst they have available on their team to get the kill, and then they drop it, and then they leave it, and then they use the burst they had to not deal a lot of damage to CAZ and end up in a bad position. Even now, they're able to get some damage onto Switch, but it's just not going to make a big turn of the tides.
Elexum just using that hieroglyphic wall, trying to get the max range poke possible, prevented RivaL from chasing his Terra, and so Switch probably thankful for that one. But again, RivaL just doesn't want to commit to this Gold Fury. It's like they want at least 3 or 4 members dead from CAZ before they feel confident in securing the objective, and they're just really undervaluing their own player damage.
Looking to go through, Elexum finds some shots through the wall. The problem is that RivaL don't want to commit, and even when they do, they're going to commit with not a lot of damage. Dobson going to be able to find the stun, the ricochet not dealing a lot of damage to Mr. Turtle, but it's enough to at least kind of pull him back into the Terra heal, which at this point is what's keeping them alive and ready and sitting around. This is the same thing we saw at the Portal Demon Pit, but now on the other side of the map. It's Mr. Turtle potentially going to get caught out, going to be walking away, but he's Hercules, he's healing. He gets bursted down by the Hopwa, and finally Dobson comes out with a kill and a 5-man knockup from Maloaise.
Elexum trying to hit anybody with that final judgment, but it's going to go straight in between the 2 carries from RivaL. Now, this is the time for RivaL to go all in on this Gold Fury. They found the pick onto Mr. Turtle. Elexum doesn't have that ultimate to try and steal it away. Switch is still kind of sticking around, maybe seeing if he can find that opening for his team, but Watson and Dobson are still on this Gold Fury.
Looking to try and burst it down. They leash it a little bit too early, but it's going to be enough for them to find the kill on the Switch. They should be able to secure this one. That'll be the second Gold Fury of the game, now pulling themselves even further ahead. 14-5 is RivaL right now, and they are using that composition the way they needed to as they come out with a short little pause, as I'm sure things are not going the way CAZ would like.
Not at all. CAZ are cutting it close with this one, but they're choosing their time wisely, I think, because for CAZ, there is the concern that if they wait a little bit too long, then RivaL are going to recognize, hey, we actually do have a lead and we do a lot of damage because we have Hopwa. We can fight this. And so far, there hasn't been a whole lot of that.
The problem is the longer that timer goes, the better the composition for CAZ goes. But the problem for them has been that they aren't able to lock anything down. Atonement is going to get locked down, as well as a couple towers here for RivaL as they look to get aggressive. Maloaise came into the back line and wasn't able to accomplish what he set out to do.
Rapio, though, just a little bit too low, so rather than pushing their luck, RivaL are going to take those couple of picks and the T1 tower secure alongside of that Gold Fury and just back off. I like that decision because they already took the objectives before falling back.
Big numbers coming down for RivaL. They've got the lead they need where they want it. 6-0-3 right now is Dobson, and he's level 20. He was the first level 20, I believe, in the game, maybe behind Mr. Turtle, because I remember seeing him hit there before Gnome. So at this point, Dobson is actually being able to let loose a little bit when his team allows him. The problem still has been that RivaL doesn't want to really push that far forward.
That pause is happening because that's about what's been happening in this set.
It was nice. You could hear the birds.
You just take a moment to bask
walk
in it. That's basically all that was about. And for RivaL, the pacing has slowed down just a little bit, but they're still relatively in control of this game. They've got a pretty nice lead built up so far, although, again, 5,000, 6,000 gold, 30 minutes in, not as impactful as if you started seeing those numbers a little bit earlier on. But for RivaL, the main thing here is they have the slight experience lead. Still not enough for CAZ to completely count themselves out, though.
Different from what CAZ did earlier is they have a split push as the fight breaks through on the right, and that's going to be, I think, their big play. No one looking to fall. Maybe JacobHL as he takes some damage from the tower. Mr. Turtle being aggressed on by Rapio, but the boulder's going to be good. But they're keeping 5 members distracted of RivaL while they have a tier 2 push on the left-hand side. They lose a tier 2 of their own, though, and now Watson, while he might fall, he's only a trade for Elexum.
And Atonement actually able to get the claim for that one. Atonement still trying to box away with the members of RivaL. Mr. Turtle actually having to pull it back, but Maloaise, he will be able to successfully strip away this T2 tower, and the engagement, it's actually going to be a back off from RivaL, even though there's only 4 members left to try, or 3 members actually, since you had Maloaise split pushing.
Trying to keep everything even. 3 towers and 3 towers for each team. Although RivaL still have that nice little chunk of gold lead. We're approaching the point where we approached last game where that gold lead's not going to make too much of a difference. They are starting to get to the point where they're 6 slotted on the other side. CAZ, still a little bit of room to go. They still have a little bit of stuff to grow. But Maloaise has been doing something different than what he did last game. Last game, he was all about the setup and potentially just standing around staring with his team. Now he's going for the split push. He's getting a little bit more aggression onto the map.
And I like that decision by CAZ because they recognize that they haven't been doing too hot in the team fights. They've been trailing just a little bit behind RivaL. If they get some successful split push off, not only does Maloaise get some well-needed farm and gold to finish off his own build, but it's going to provide some to the team as well.
Portal Demon started up. I feel like I've said that a lot today with these two teams, as RivaL again going to end up dropping it as they get it very low. Just Mr. Turtle and Elexum standing nearby. They will confirm this one as they get that the stun comes through, and now Gnome looking like he might want to fight, but the rest of the team calling for him to fall back. They got the objective, and that's what they wanted overall. 32 minutes in, and they look like they have found that commitment they were missing.
Great job by Gnome there, pushing back Elexum. Gnome got hit by the stun follow-up afterwards, but Elexum was so far back that he couldn't get any of his range damage off to try and steal away that Portal Demon.
Gnome looking to fight as best he can. The damage getting returned. RivaL want to go, but they're deterred by a tier 2 that's not even there. They don't want to fight around this corner. They don't want to put themselves into another tight corridor where maybe Elexum is able to pop off and get a lot of damage, but with the way that things have been going, CAZ, they want to fight.
CAZ really need to fight. It's going to be the main way to keep RivaL at least off of this Fire Giant a little bit longer, but CAZ also desperately needs some sentry wards here. There is just so much vision established right now for RivaL, and pretty deep inside of CAZ's jungle as well. There was at least a sentry ward. Yeah, it's still there, right underneath Switch's feet, and with that vision, RivaL just have the main advantage.
And they know where they need to put that aggression. As the blink comes through, the knockup is good. As they're trying to find the damage, Elexum's the main target. He's going to get taken down by the Suns. The slow is going to be applied, but the boulder comes through, and Dobson is taking a lot from the back line. He's going to end up healing up, but Watson takes the spill. Rapio trying to stay alive, return the damage wherever they want, but RivaL just want to run.
Just pulling that Wingblade proc of Maloaise, and now Maloaise actually feeling a little confident here, wanting to maybe push forward. Dobson has no jump available, and it's actually going to be JacobHL who's being the main target focus here for CAZ. They are going to take down the tree too.
Permafrost placement bouncing around. He can't run away. He can't find his ground. And now potentially continue fighting. The knockup is good. The push is good against the wall to get the stun. But it's Mr. Turtle versus Dobson. Dobson has that double lifesteal, so it might not go the way that Mr. Turtle wants. And ultimately, CAZ, they're happy with the trade they were able to get, and they're going to end up falling back.
Atonement, though, doing a great job there. Rapio trying to get that sneaky wraparound, and instead, he's going to be a little bit out of position here. Maloaise with the cutoff. Rapio has no chance of survival. Calder dash going to give Atonement the credit for that one.
Stuck between everyone on CAZ and the wall at that point on the right-hand side of the map. 3-for-1 as Elexum did take a spill, but now we're starting to see CAZ finally come in and punch back where RivaL haven't really been able to secure a clean fight. And Fire Giant started up. Elexum actually still alive, still with Final Judgment, still a great securer for the team as they're going to try and get the zone down. Dobson's the main target and already half health. The stun's going to be good, and this is going to open it up, forcing the leap out from him.
And Maloaise, though, he's looking to just give chase. Dobson trying to do what he can to try and deal some damage, but Elexum is going to be able to find him instead. So Maloaise just goes straight onto Watson, but he's going to get eliminated by Elexum.
Fire Giant at about 1/4 health, Switch low as well. Atonement going to turn in. Gnome's going to be the main target, and he's a little bit too far. JacobHL plucked back in the permafrost again, making it hard for him to wander around. He's going to get locked down by CAZ. Switch is very low, but he doesn't have the damage as the Sylvanus to get this. It's going to be a 4-for-none trade there for CAZ as they start up the Fire Giant one more time. Nemesis alive, but can she make the impact?
And this one wasn't so much hesitation as much as it was Rapio just getting picked early on, trying to find that kill onto Atonement, giving CAZ the confidence to push into that Fire Giant pit, using that 3v5 scenario to their advantage, because it'd been just a couple of seconds until Jacob was respawning actually at the time, and then by the time he made it to that Fire Giant pit, members had already started falling off.
Now it's been big for CAZ to be able to turn that one around the way they did just there, because now they tie up the items. They don't necessarily bring the gold even, but they're only 1,000 behind, 1,500 behind. So they've taken what was a very large lead for RivaL in kills and in gold, experience, everything, and turned it down to the point where, again, Terra is the only one who's not level 20 on their team.
Game taking a little bit of a 180. RivaL starting to sweat just about now, because this game, again, is just huge implications. It means that CAZ would get 3 points, pushing them to 4, putting them over RivaL in the standings for second place.
Whereas RivaL, all they need this one game. That's what they want. If they can find the win here, they're the ones who confirm their second place spot. So CAZ just fighting up with them. The tier 2 tower is the big target, and the tier 2 tower gains them more map control. Now only one tower stands between them and the Phoenixes. They're going to opt for the Portal Demon, though, and I feel like this one is not going to be a dance.
Portal Demon to T2 in right lane, and I say that because if the siege in right doesn't go well from the start, then they can always back off easily, reset, and come back through that portal. So that's one primary advantage. Or they could just back right now, spend that gold, and then look for the siege. Either way, they still have a large amount of time remaining on this Fire Giant, so could very well be an attempt for taking away that right-hand Phoenix.
Finish off a little bit, grab those power pots that were so prevalent in the last game, and potentially bring themselves now actually into the lead. They're up now 2,000 gold over RivaL, but they still have the Fire Giant for another 2 minutes to potentially push down this tier 2, and that's going to be their main goal.
Elexum just trying to be a little bit of a distraction factor. It's only Elexum and Atonement for now, but since they have that Portal Demon, RivaL are more than aware that CAZ is going to start flooding in, and this T2 tower, I can't see it standing for much longer.
Aggression going to come in. Turtle or Switch have to tank. The knockup's good, but he's not going to find the push. The sprint comes through, and the final judgment finds 2. He's going to be able to push out Watson and Rapio there with one shot coming down. That's going to be the tower at least coming out for CAZ, but they want blood, and they're going to find it.
That stack up was the ultimate disaster for RivaL. Watson and Dobson both getting forced out just means, or Watson and Rapio, excuse me, just means that there's no one left to try and help defend. Frontline doing what it could, but Gnome is only so much time that a Chaac silence can actually buy.
Get the tier 2. Now the Phoenix is on the chopping block, and they're looking to have a much better time than the last time they went for the first Phoenix. Going to be able to get the damage. The stuns are coming through as they get the aggression. The problem is that's enough of a zone. Maloaise taking too much damage. They get pushed back, and they're about to lose the Fire Giant in about 40 seconds. So CAZ are kind of on the line. They don't know if they want to full commit.
Elexum just one more time trying to use that range to his advantage. That hieroglyphic wall also giving a bonus to Atonement for that objective shred, but it's still really difficult for CAZ because Watson is alive, and turtling underneath the Phoenix is a hot look for RivaL.
Up into the sky goes Maloaise, looking for the knockup. He's going to come crashing down. He's going to be able to find a little bit of damage onto JacobHL in the kill, but Elexum's getting low, and he's looking to get traded out. Dobson goes forward, finds the kill, and they're trying to look and turn around. CAZ wants some kills. Watson went into the rest of the team, but he's looking like he can get out safely using that movement speed on the water carpet. Rapio going to be able to find Mr. Turtle in a slow, and now Switch left all by his lonesome. He's a lonely Terra, and while he has some stuns, he has some dashes, he's not going to be able to get away too far.
Oof, he almost made it out there. If he'd been able to connect with that double dash, maybe he could have put some distance between himself and the entirety of RivaL, but it is going to be the support sacrifice, and the best part about it all for RivaL, that Phoenix still stands.
Atonement cutouts, farming up a speed buff, but he's not going to end up taking the damage. The Ricochet actually bounces back and hits him, takes down half of his remaining health, and while he has the speed buff, he can run away, but that one's going to feel bad just knowing that Dobson was able to get the better trade.
Atonement there, probably just cheeks are clenched off of that one. That is one of the situations where you know that Dobson was, I think the main thing there is that Dobson wasn't expecting to have that stun connect because he didn't look for the in-hand follow-up damage.
He really just was like, I'll hit the first stun. The bounce back, the ricochet, something you always have to be aware of, but fortunately for them, they're not able to find that kill. Could have been a potential tide turner there for RivaL, but as it stands right now, CAZ are technically in the lead. They've been able to get more control of the map. They still have 3 towers standing, and they've managed to grab the only fire giant so far, but this is kind of the scenario we saw RivaL in last time, but we are now at 41, almost 42 minutes as times are going forward. Mr. Turtle doing the same thing he did on Kuzenbo, just with less of a smile.
That damage is pretty intense from Watson, especially since he has that Divine Ruin. Going to make that healing not so impactful for Mr. Turtle. Speaking of which, JacobHL committing with that Blink ultimate.
Not going to find the commitment his team needs, but the rest of the follow-up is going to be good. The boulder comes through, only connects to Gnome, and he's just going to be able to shrug that one off as he's chasing down the rest of the team. Rapio caught out, though, stunned down and bursted out. Now 4 members of CAZ able to collapse down onto Gnome. He's pushed into the wall. It's going to cause a little bit of damage to miss. They're still going to be able to find the kill as JacobHL look to try and come in. The support mentality. I want to save my team, but it's going to cost you your life as 5 members now are going to be able to collapse into you. And while you're tanky, you're not tanky enough to take on 5.
RivaL is just so split up. Every single time it seems as though RivaL is going to make the turnaround play off of their defense, they just drop the ball a little bit and split up way too much. Their carries are just going in completely opposite directions, not only from each other, but from the rest of the team. And that's just also credit where it's due. CAZ eSports has done a great job at just causing so much chaos for RivaL.
Now it's going to be a clean Phoenix for them to be able to pick that one up. Watson and Dobson, they're really good damage-wise. If you break into the Titan room, you might end up just throwing right there from the damage they can drop down. But they're not going to be as strong on a defense. And now we see CAZ probably going for the Fire Giant. I don't expect them to swing around. Maybe grab the Portal Demon right after, but both objectives looking to be in their favor.
Having 1 lane of fire creeps already, though, before the Fire Giant's even taken away, just means, oh, actually,
Watson just took that! No! You don't let that happen!
No one was playing zone because everybody
CAZ
felt so comfortable thinking that RivaL isn't going to contest.
They've been a bad team right now. That was not the way you play that. You are never in enough of a lead that that's what you can do with the Fire Giant. Watson just walked right up.
Sometimes
I'm mad. I am actually heated about this.
They just felt incredibly safe. They did not expect RivaL with how passive they have played in this set. I almost don't fault CAZ for that, but at the same time, I do, because you can't just let a Hebo slowly roll up on your entire team and steal it away with a water spout.
And it's not even like he blinked in. It's not like he came through and used his ult. He walked up and just blopped just a little bit of damage to be able to take that away from him. Now RivaL are poised to try and turn this one around. They've pushed up the mid lane where the fire minions are coming down. JacobHL goes in, gets the plug, gets the knock up, and he's looking for the damage as the rest of the team's coming through, but a big hit coming from the backline onto Watson might turn that around. Yes, he stole the Fire Giant, but you can't live forever.
And now it's actually going to be JacobHL getting chased out by Skadi's dog. Gnome still underneath that T2 tower, and what seemed like a promising engage after a hot play from Watson is just going to be RivaL on the retreat.
Knock up going to be good. Knock back in the push. Going to be able to grab Gnome away from the team, but Rapio's ready to go, and he's ready to fight. He's going to be able to come in and push down Switch, get a little bit of damage. They're going to be grabbing 2 for none on the side of CAZ, so they might be able to come in and find more push. Even after losing the Fire Giant, they're going to be able to shrug it right on off. 2 members left with it, and while you don't want Dobson to have it, and you probably don't really want Rapio to have it with the protection shred he has, they're able to find their advantage.
Dobson, though, he doesn't have his ultimate. He used it in that last team fight, and so now CAZ should be able to strip away this left-hand Phoenix. They have the fire or the creeps pushed in their favor, not to mention fire creeps in the mid lane, and sure enough, that Phoenix was just destroyed.
My mind is still lost in the fact that they lost their Fire Giant. They're still doing fine without it. They just got their Phoenix. They're looking for the 3rd bird as they come into the right-hand lane. All they need is a little bit of damage, and Atonement's going to be the one who's able to apply that. Thoth also going to be helping out with that, applying that to Dobson in the back line as they get the pressure, but they're getting pushed out. Gnome going to be the one in charge of that. The knockup's going to be good. The stun's not going to come through from Dobson, but they get the push back, and they stop CAZ from breaking in.
Full-on disengage from CAZ eSports right now, and I think that was the right choice. They already have 2 Phoenixes. They don't really need to force a siege onto that right-hand Phoenix. Fire Giant still online for 2 members from RivaL. And with that being said, we're right back at it again.
I like these scenic moments on the beach. It's a nice little change of pace through everything. You know, both teams, they just backed. They're looking for heal. They're trying to spend some of the gold they have. 6 slotted, they're going to be getting up the wards, the sentry wards, the power pots, whatever they can to try and get themselves ahead. But they're going to be spending that time in base. So we get to go relax on the beach for a little bit as we wait for the next start of the next fight, which could potentially be around the Fire Giant or the Portal Demon. And CAZ, hopefully learning their lesson, will have someone zone next time.
Probably going to be around that next Fire Giant spawn. Mid Phoenix, though, should be back up for RivaL by then, which is going to be nice. So they'll only have to worry about 1 lane with fire creeps if they're able to push it back out. Although CAZ might potentially look to re-siege this Mid Phoenix as soon as it spawns when it's at its most vulnerable point.
Pushing up the fire minions as best they can. They don't have the same push they might be able to have if they had like a Fire Giant, which isn't even going to be spawned up for a little bit to be able to break into this, but it is weak, as you had said. They're just trying to find a way into it, at least get the minions in to potentially cause some damage. They're keeping RivaL pulled over here, and they're not able to split push with it either.
But they have the fire creeps on the left-hand side starting to pour in, and with that in mind, RivaL are probably going to have to send somebody over. It's going to be Watson, actually, who's going to try and clear away that creep wave. Very efficient clear. Mr. Turtle starting to take up a little bit of those Phoenix shots, but it's going to be Switch actually looking for the engage underneath the Phoenix.
Stun in the backline is going to be good, but it's not going to be enough for CAZ to feel comfortable going in just yet. They want to get the damage, but they need to do it right. They don't want to end up throwing right there as they've already lost the Fire Giant. They want to poise themselves to be in a position to be able to walk right on in and close out the game. Coming through, Final Judgment charged and canceled, but now Maloaise goes in too deep, takes a lot of damage. The Thorns comes through, but it's not going to be enough to save his life. Chaac with the axe finds the kill and eliminates the jungler for CAZ.
And Watson ate that Final Judgment to the face, but it might not make a difference. Rapio trying to go a little bit too deep, though, onto Elexum, and Elexum is actually going to clean him up alongside of Atonement. Now, RivaL actually on the defensive after what looked like could have been a promising push.
Trying to turn it around. CAZ don't have much to pull themselves into this, and they're looking to try and just get the zoning done for RivaL. And this time they need to continue to keep some zoning done for RivaL. They don't have to worry too much about Watson as he's in the base. They're not actually going to be going for the Fire Giant here either. They have good positioning too, but with Thoth and Atonement not around, they're just going to go ahead and call it quits, hover around. Portal Demon started up, but RivaL standing in the neighborhood.
And for RivaL, they're really just trying to be careful now. They don't want CAZ to have a free Fire Giant. They've already managed to steal it away one time. Watson is alive. He does have his ultimate, but so does Elexum. I'd imagine that this is going to be CAZ's Portal Demon. You never know, though. Watson, he's ready to try and steal it away.
Coming in through, it's going to be picked up. RivaL grab that one away from CAZ, but they don't open themselves up for the fight. They're trying to go in. Switch is going to be rooted. Mr. Turtle in the front line, going to be the big damage, but neither team really has the setup they need to continue that fight. All CAZ wants is a Fire Giant, a couple Phoenixes, and the Titan kill, and they just aren't quite able to break on into that one.
It's a 3v4 at the moment, though. Maloaise just now about to join the battle. Mr. Turtle trying to get another hot pull-in onto Gnome, but with that Portal Demon, it's just going to make it all too easy for RivaL to rotate on over.
Right now, the stage is set for CAZ to be able to swing through and do what they need to be able to win if they can push forward and get the Fire Giant. The problem is that RivaL, at this point, because of the last play around the Fire Giant, they're ready to be able to retaliate and turn this one back through. So really, I mean, with everything on the line, like that's part of the reason I got so upset with that one. Everything's on the line for you. You have a trip to land, and you lose the Fire Giant to a Hobwa 3. He's going to knock it up.
The water spout can come in. It deals a lot of damage. Hobwa has 3 ults for a reason. Speaking of which, Rapio is actually going to take out Elexum, and it's RivaL who's actually trying to be on the offensive.
The boulder comes through. Rapio going to be the one who takes the spill. 2 for 1 right now. RivaL as they break on through. Watson's getting low, but it doesn't matter to him. He has the damage he needs, and he takes out Maloaise as they continue getting aggressive. Gnome looking to be the front line, knocked around, but no one on CAZ that's remaining is going to have the damage to be able to deal with this. Chaac 50 minutes in, they've managed to stretch this one out, but they're fighting just as much, if not more, in this match as they come through. And the Fire Giant started up here by RivaL. Mr. Turtle doesn't have the boulder, so if he steals it, he has to run in and get that.
And Sprint has been popped, though, from RivaL. They're not looking to take any chances. They just want to kill Mr. Turtle. Shell has been popped. Shield of Regrowth is even stronger. Atonement actually able to take out Watson, and Mr. Turtle lives.
3 for 2. Mr. Turtle barely alive. The Fire Giant started up one more time by RivaL as they go into the backline looking to try and confirm it. Dobson and JacobHL trying to do whatever they can. Gnome doing what he needs to do. He's zoning to make sure no one can walk on into this one. Both teams, again, have broken the 100,000 gold mark. And we're approaching 51 minutes, so these timers are going to get a lot longer, and we're going to be in the same position we were last game, where a couple deaths really opens things up for you. But here comes Mr. Turtle. He has the boulder. He's going to throw it, but it's a little bit too late. Fire Giant confirmed, but only for 3 members there on RivaL.
I thought for sure that as soon as Mr. Turtle arrived at that Fire Giant pit, he was going to toss that boulder. I think that might have actually been a steal, but unfortunately just a little bit short on that one. Still, RivaL not out of the woods just yet. They might have secured the Fire Giant, but if this game is anything like the last one, that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to do anything with it.
And they still have 3 towers that they're going to end up having to eat through overall, plus the Phoenixes that have not been touched on that side, whereas CAZ has a little bit of leniency to go forward. They did take 2 Phoenixes down, so if they are able to kind of get a retaliation push, they should be able to find that one no problem. As it's standing right now, I am just stuck for CAZ. There's not a lot for them to do with the aggression they have. They can't really break forward. They don't want to fight into the Fire Giant. They don't want to go for a Phoenix right now because they don't have the Fire Giant. And Gold Fury, as nice as it is, doesn't really make a big difference.
Well, for CAZ, they're kind of just relying entirely on Elexum getting out some great poke with either the Final Judgment or just his regular kit. But for Watson, again, he's just had to get so up close and personal with CAZ that it usually puts him in a pretty awful spot that the rest of RivaL then has to counter it or make up for it by collapsing around Watson to protect their mid laner. So that's probably one of the main reasons why we've been seeing CAZ win a lot of these fights. But now, in these past couple of engagements, it's just been Maloaise going a little bit too deep, Mr. Turtle going a little bit too deep, and because of that, CAZ's backline is just way too exposed, and Watson gets away for going super deep.
Now they're going to be trying to defend this left Phoenix, as RivaL has the option to push in or fall back. They're kind of hovering around the Tier 2 area. Not sure where they want to go. They don't really have the best initiation overall. We see 14,000 healing. I just saw highlighted over there from JacobHL, which has a lot of potential right here. It's going to be able to heal up the team as they want to break into this Phoenix. But again, not a lot of initiation coming out from them.
And right now, RivaL just still trying to be careful. They want to be safe. They want this left-hand Phoenix, though. They know that it's a Phoenix they need to take, considering that it's also a same Phoenix that they already have weakened on their end. And JacobHL is just waiting for the right moment.
Blink knockup going to come through, and it's going to be on to Mr. Turtle that the damage is focused. The rest of the team just ends up falling back. The knockup coming through from Maloaise, and the boulder setup going to be coming down. Final Judgment breaks through. Everyone's getting low on the side of RivaL, but they're not able to confirm the kills just yet. 1 shot, 1 kill from Elexum. Going to be able to find that. Dobson, the next lowest member, but they can go ahead and shred these tanks as they catch them out and push them against the wall. And that's going to be a 5-on-3 left down for CAZ as they take 2 kills outside their Phoenix.
Jacob actually could not move there because of the positioning from CAZ. They had the perfect body block onto that permafrost, meaning that he was just permanently bouncing around inside that corridor.
It always feels rough when you get locked on permafrost. You can't walk, you can't do anything. It's ice. You're just going to slip around, especially when you're a tree. You're already probably a little clumsy. The mid Phoenix is the target here for CAZ. They're going to come in. Gnome is alive. Rapio's alive. And we see Dobson sitting right back there as well. But not a lot they can do to defend this Phoenix.
They could have probably committed there and looked for the end. They might still want to go for this. CAZ feeling frisky. Missing the stun, though, on Rapio means that's going to buy RivaL a little bit more time.
Up into the sky goes Maloaise, looking potentially to try and find the 1v1 on his opposing jungler. He's going to bounce around, and with that Final Judgment, that's the cue to go in, get the kill. The shield's going to be good to heal up Rapio a little bit. The team still gets what they want. They take that left Phoenix, and now they find themselves with fire minions once again in 2 of the lanes. They're going to go ahead and turn their attention back to some of those big objectives at this point. Portal Demon, Fire Giant. Fire Giant's not there for a minute, but they will be able to pick some stuff up on the way there.
And now RivaL are, again, in a pretty awkward spot. 2 Phoenixes missing, 55 minutes and climbing in the game. Portal Demon's gonna go in favor of CAZ. Can't really see it any other way. No Watson to ruin the day.
As it stands, he is alive, and I feel like we've seen this part of the game before. 2 Phoenixes down, and the Fire Giant potentially about to be started. The team gonna back, heal, mana regen, grab whatever they want at this point. Some power pots might not be bad to pick up, as I think they're probably ticking on their last few going through. I saw Terra even grabbing one right there, and I think that's an elixir of defense coming out for Elexum, just to try and keep them alive a little bit longer.
Once the 3K pots start coming into play, you know that the game's been going on for quite some time, and sure enough, it's not over just yet. CAZ eSports using that portal to their advantage, but Switch actually under fire pretty heavily from Rapio.
Fallen back, RivaL in a position to potentially turn their sights on to the Fire Giant. Portal Demon's gone. Mr. Turtle's hanging around, and they just do not want to go ahead and fight on in. They don't have the big initiation they want because Jacob's going to hold on to that Blink ult until he knows he can hit a few members. And CAZ not quite grouping up enough for him to be able to do that. And this is very reminiscent of the first game, 56 minutes, and they're going to be staring at each other right around the Fire Giant pit as it started up. But Fire Minions are pouring in, and Rapio, poor him, left alone to try and deal with those. Not known for great clear as Nemesis.
And RivaL actually gonna opt to forfeit the Fire Giant. They'd rather just take their chances underneath their Phoenixes, or their last Phoenix, I should say. And I actually like this call from RivaL. Normally, you'd want to see teams try and contest on the Fire Giant, but in this circumstance, RivaL already has so much damage available in their draft, and it's almost 60 minutes in the game. Fire Giant really does not have as much of an impact when the numbers start going this high, especially when you start factoring in the late game gods on both sides. It's really just a health regen now.
Now looking to try and knock down the last Phoenix that is left standing for RivaL. And they want to do it before that mid-Phoenix respawns just to give them that extra little bit of push. And this is going to be the big one for CAZ. They just have to break in. That's been their problem this entire time, is finding that ability to break in. They don't have the same initiation that you would see on the side of RivaL. And CAZ, they're really relying on the back of Switch and Mr. Turtle. They need to get in. They need to start going.
Watson's got to come up huge here with that ultimate. If he isn't able to connect with one of his 3 ults, then it's not going to be pretty for RivaL. And Elexum, same story. He needs this final judgment to hit.
Double knockup coming through from Jacob, but he's going to get stunned and turned around on the damage coming through. Final Judgment charged up. The shot's all it needs, but he gets silenced out before he can fire. And now RivaL are looking to try and find this around, but Rapio for him taking too much damage. Final Judgment comes through, connects on 2, but it's the tanks, and they aren't too worried about it. But the damage from the backlines being big from Elexum. Maloaise going to take the first spill, but they're turning it down onto Watson as they look to close out the game. Jacob caught between all of the members of CAZ, once again body blocked into his own doom, and the Titan open, willing and ready to fall. CAZ is going to take the 2-0, and they did it in 73 and then 58 minutes there.
And played spoiler effect for RivaL. More importantly, congratulations to CAZ eSports for successfully toppling RivaL, meaning that they'll be the ones taking second place and headed to LAN.
RivaL probably not happy, even though they got a nice Fire Giant steal at one point in that game. They were going back and forth once again, but CAZ really just had a lot to kind of hold on to and keep themselves footed in that game.
It was just RivaL having way too much hesitation in both of these games. I think that RivaL had great advantages that they could have pressured out from CAZ, but instead they kept choosing to delay and just waited out, playing way too scared. Really. And for how experienced this team is, I'm actually surprised at how unconfident they seemed.
Yeah, they had a lot that they could have done, but it was, again, that lead. They held it, and then they held it, and then they lost it. They just didn't push forward with it, and when it comes down to it, with the way RivaL had the potential they had, with all of that on the line, they didn't abuse what they had.
And it happens sometimes, and it also goes to show that the competition in Europe is steadily on the rise. These teams are starting to become really competitive amongst each other, and I think that CAZ did an excellent job. For the first time in a long time, it will not be RivaL as the sole representative of European console Smite. It's actually going to be CAZ eSports and Enix now looking to make a name for EU in NA.
Yeah, that's going to be it, though, for Europe this week. In the last week here for the Console League, we're going to be going into North America. Before we do so, we're going to take a little bit of a break and come back to you shortly.